All right, y'all, welcome back to World History AP. This is going to be Unit 0, Day 5. This is the Middle East. Reminders to have your history notebook out and you're taking notes as you move through the video. And make sure they complete the vocabulary for this video, which is also down in the description. So our key terms for today are Bedouin, Muhammad, the 5 pillars of Islam, the Quran, the Hadith, the Jizya, the Sunni, the Shia, the Hijra, the Umma, the Abu Bakr, the Caliph, the Ali, the Rashidun, the Kaaba, and the Umayyad. So key concepts are going to be the Middle Eastern civilizations pre-1200 CE and the major ideologies in the Middle East. So the Middle East, so Arabia or the Middle East was made up of nomads called Bedouin, and Iraq and Iran were part of larger civilizations and empires in Mesopotamia and Persia. Most people pre-Islam are going to be polytheistic, so these Bedouin nomadic tribes and people of Mesopotamia and Persia are going to be polytheistic. They're going to trade because they're kind of centrally located. They're going to trade on the Silk Road. They're going to trade in the Mediterranean, trade in the Trans-Saharan trade route. And again, the major Islamic civilizations pre-1200s are going to be the Umayyads. And when we get to next unit, we'll actually talk about the fall of the Umayyads. But the Umayyads are decentralized. They're located in Damascus. They used Arabs to govern their empire. But they will be, once Islam comes on the scene, they will be Sunni Islam. But in about 1031 CE, they'll be overthrown and replaced by the Abbasids. Now, since the Middle East is kind of the bastion for Islam and like the cradle for Islam, Islam will spread through the Middle East, North Africa, Spain, Western Europe, throughout Central and Southeast Asia and Central Asia. Now, pre-Islamic Arabia, on the Arabian Peninsula, this is going to be the nomadic Bedouin, which are organized by families and clans. And in post-classical Arabia, they're going to be active in long-distance overland trade. They're very polytheistic. Again, they're going to trade on the Silk Road. They're going to trade in the Mediterranean. They're going to trade in the sub-Saharan and the Saharan trade routes. So now let's get into kind of the birth and creation of Islam. So it starts with this gentleman by the name of Muhammad ibn Abdallah, and he is born in Mecca to a merchant's family in 570 CE. Now, Muhammad's spiritual transformation to kind of, at age 40, he starts to experience visions, and his visions tell him that there is only one true God named Allah, or the God translated, and that the Christian Archangel Gabriel delivered these revelations to Muhammad. And through these revelations, he develops the 5 pillars of Islam. And the 5 pillars of Islam are the profession of faith, prayer, tithing, pilgrimage, and the fasting at Ramadan. And their holy book, the Islamic holy book, is known as the Quran. And the Quran is created similar to the New Testament, where the New Testament, the followers of Jesus create the New Testament, and in the Quran, it's the followers of Muhammad who compile Muhammad's stories and revelations after his death and create the Quran. Also, these followers are also going to create something called the Hadith, and the Hadith is another kind of holy book that kind of has the collected traditions and kind of I'm not going to say rules, but kind of ways of living that were passed on from the Islamic prophet Muhammad. So, well, as with most new religions, very similar to Christianity, it kind of is created, and then the kind of status quo, um, the kind of people in power don't really like it, right? And so this leads to a conflict at Mecca, and this leads to the Hijra, which is that under the persecution of the kind of ruling party and the status quo, Muhammad and his followers flee to Medina in 622 CE, and this Hijra, or this fleeing of Mecca, is the starting point for the Islamic calendar. And in Medina, Muhammad and his followers create something known as the Umma, which is which is an organized, cohesive community called the Umma in Medina. Now, Islam is going to bounce back from this persecution, and will, after Muhammad's death, and this kind of bounce back, Islam will begin to spread through the Middle East and kind of encompass the Middle East under a Caliph. And upon Muhammad's death, Abu Bakr served as Caliph, or the deputy. And a Caliph is kind of a head of state, chief judge, religious leader, military commander. A Caliph is kind of the head of or the top person in the Islamic faith. In Christianity, or in Catholic Christianity, that person would be the Pope. In Orthodox Christianity, that person would be the Patriarch. It's a very similar style, or very similar title. Now, the first four Rashidun, or Orthodox Caliphs, were some of the original followers of Muhammad, people who knew Muhammad in life and were similar to the apostles of Jesus, such as Paul and Peter, and they became the next four Caliphs. Now, between 633 and 718 CE, they're going to conquer the Middle East, North Africa, Northeast Africa, Persia, Northern India, the Iberian Peninsula, which is Spain, and Northwest Africa. But like most religions, they're going to split. And they're going to split into the Sunnis and the Shias. Now, the Sunni and Shia they're both Islamic. They both follow the Quran. They both follow the teachings of the Quran. It comes down to who they believe should be in charge of Islam. And this is a problem that comes up in all major religions, Christianity, which we'll get to next unit. But in Islam, the Sunnis believe that they should have elected leaders, and that the first four caliphs were rightly guided and taking over that kind of place of Muhammad's kind of place as leader in the Islamic communities. And the Shias believe that that the leader of Islam should be a direct descendant of Muhammad. I believe it'd be his son-in-law should be the direct descendant, and the line of Muhammad should be the leader of Islam, while Sunnis believe that it should be an elected leader, elected by the people. And this will cause conflict. But even today, over 1,600 years later, Sunnis and Shias still do not get along, and they still fight over who should be in charge of Islam. Now, again, the Islam will spread throughout kind of the Middle East, parts of Northern Africa, and parts of Europe and Asia. So if you look at this map, we can see that that the Arab or the Islamic empires kind of spread. They spread under the Prophet Muhammad was in the dark red, the kind of in the orange we have the expansion during the Rashidun Caliphate, and then the yellow will be the size of the Umayyad Empire, which will last until about 1031. So this is where we're going to stop for today. So again, this is the end of Unit 0, Day 5. Be sure that you've taken the notes, and that you've completed the vocabulary, and the key terms are, again, in the video and down in the description if you need them. Thank y'all, and I'll see y'all in class.